title on the line against Laois. Remember, the sides met in last year's final. It turned out to be a game of incident, as we hear now from Jim Carney.
A strange sight for Meath supporters. Their list of subs as distinguished as their players: McQuillan, O'Malley, Hayes, Kelly, Harnan and Geraghty. The newcomer was Enda McManus at right full back, only 20 years of age. But the youngest man on the field, filling the A&other position for Laois, Hugh Emerson, a Leaving Cert student in Portarlington CBS. What a big day it was for him, in at centre half forward. Meath did the running in the early stages. Scores were scarce until Tommy Dowd opened their account with the first score of the match. A neat point. Tommy Dowd the scorer. It took Laois all of 16 minutes to score. But then Michael Lawler, who'd been off form with his freeze, sending over to Leo Turley, who was to give Mick Lyons a testing time for the rest of the match. Tension, of course, in the match, as might be expected from the meeting last year when a man was sent off, and then a hard, high challenge by Joe Nolan. The Laois left full forward caused Meath midfielder John McDermott, in instead of Liam Hayes, to have to leave the field. Nolan was booked, and from that incident, more drama, another flare-up. Referee Tommy Howard quickly got control, however, and both sides settled down to play some rousing football. Martin O'Connell was trying to lead Meath by example. Brian Stafford was getting the points from the freeze. And here's O'Connell charging forward for one of the very best scores of the day, and there were some fine points from play. O'Connell thus inspired Meath, who might have had a goal on the stroke of half-time. Brendan Riley made the initial thrust, and then, having picked up a good position, gave a lovely pass to Bernard Flynn. The ball, however, from Flynn crashed off the crossbar, and Brendan Riley couldn't finish it off with even a point. Riley's drive going wide. Bernard Flynn's accuracy from frees kept Meath in it. In front, however, 7-3 they led at half-time, but Leo Turley showing the way for Laois in the second half. They pulled back that lead. It was 8-6 thanks to Turley's points. And then Joe Nolan, who'd been booked earlier, in another high challenge. And this time, referee Tommy Howard, despite the urgings and pleadings of Hugh Emerson, sent Joe Nolan to the line. Shades of last year for Laois supporters, wondering would the nightmare return when a man was sent off. And then Colm Coyle for Meath missed the chance of the match, blazing wide. That was a let-off for Laois. They made the most of it, capitalising with this goal. Dempsey, the substitute, sending in Mick Lyons, beaten for once, and Mick Turley, the substitute, who'd been injured, but brought into the game by Richie Connor, scoring an opportunist goal that put Laois in front. And suddenly the big crowd in Portculchin and Navan sensing that there was a shock on the cards. But back came Meath. Kevin Foley, remember Kevin Foley making a charge forward against Dublin for last year that led to something spectacular. And so it was again. Tommy Dowd, who was also involved in the famous goal against Dublin, on hand to finish. Only a point in it now, and Meath supporters must have sensed that they'd grab at least a draw from this match. But young Hugh Emerson, the Leaving Cert student, sending in a high ball, and Kevin Foley charging across. The foul was committed. Penalty, said Tommy Howard. But incredibly, the Meath goalkeeper Donald Smith had to face a penalty from the Laois goalkeeper Tony McMahon, who'd come the length of the field on the instructions of Laois manager Richie Connor to take the kick. Meath then, instead of searching for an equaliser, were facing and fearing a goal at the other end. Parried by Donald Smith, but so hard driven that in it went from a jubilant Tony McMahon, the Laois goal scorer. More misfortune for Meath when Liam Hayes was sent off in injury time. Seemed to sum up their fate on a day when Laois played the harder, tougher, more committed football, and it was a more sustained effort from Richie Connor's men.
Well, it's a great feeling, you know. It's what we've been working for over the last 6 months, I suppose. We played Meath in the Leinster final last year. We knew from an early stage that we were playing them in the first round of the championship, and all our thoughts were geared towards that. You know, we knew it was going to be a hard task, but the players worked hard and things worked out.
Now, a great performance by the team all through, but particularly by your forwards when they started shooting points from 40, 50 yards out. Mick Turley's points, I think, probably be talked about for a long time.
Yeah, they came at a great time in the coming up towards the last quarter when we really needed. We were down to 14 men when some of those good points were kicked. I wouldn't like to single out anybody. I think it was a great team performance. It was great that, you know, Mick could come on there and show his worth. But it was a great team performance.
Well, it was the longest summer for Meath last year, but this will be their shortest summer since 1985. The end of an era for a great Meath team. We'll have to wait and see if they rise again, but well, if they do, it's bound to be without many of the names that have become so well known to us over the years. Wicklow marched on in Leinster. They beat Longford this afternoon by 2-18 to 2-8. And Longford have been going reasonably well in that match, and they were leading by 3 points at one stage in the second half. But 2 goals in the space of a minute by Kevin O'Brien and Ronan Coffey were the killer blows that sent Wicklow into the next round against Kildare. Well, now we have more hurling for you, and the opening game at Porky Keeve today was another Cork Kerry affair.